This project started off as a pretty straightforward video. Better lighting, front and rear, safer riding. But then it turned out to be much more challenging than expected. Not just mechanically, but mentally. And somewhere in the middle of it all, I realized that was actually the point. Spending hours on a complex mechanical problem, time slows down. At this stage of life, that kind of focus matters. Not just for the bike, but for clarity. So this project was really, at the end of the day, about upgrading the lights. But it's also about the process and why projects like this matter to me. Follow along with me as I go through this lighting upgrade for my R1200GS. Thanks for watching.
I think I'm going to take this seat bracket off to be able to get into these areas and really get a good clean installation. It looks like there's plenty of room here, so no issue with running the wires. And then especially coming down on this side to be able to access the battery.
Hey there, just a short note from the editing studio. As I was going through the install, I had a question in my mind about whether or not I should take off that seat bracket. It's held on by a total of 8 T40 bolts. And if you're going to do the project, I've seen a number of videos where people have put in the MotoCAN without taking that seat bracket out, and I would say that's definitely possible and it would make it a lot easier. However, if you're going to install the Denali B6, you really need to take that seat bracket off. You can access the back portion of that tray where all the electronics are housed. Now, what makes this a little bit of a pain is those T40 bolts all have a thread locker on them, so taking them out is a little bit of a pain, and that led to some problems a little bit later on, as you'll see. But if you're going to install the Denali B6, definitely take that seat bracket off. Back to the video.
I think the first thing I'm going to do is to install the bracket on the front. mainly because it looks like it's one of the easiest parts to install, so that's what it looks like. Okay, so first order of business is going to be this bracket, and again it looked like a pretty straightforward installation here. This out, the key thing are these bolts right here, and I've got the instructions ready. Printed those off, and by the way, the instructions do not come in the box, so you will need to print them off. And so the way this looks like it works is basically the bolt minus this little spacer and nut go right in, and it looks like you can just pull this back to be able to get access to it, and it appears to be right there. We go. There's the first one dropped in without any problem, and this must be fairly narrow back here. I know that's a little difficult for you to see, so I'll come under there and you can see where that bolt is right there. And basically, by just pulling this plastic back, you can get enough room to drop that in. So let's go for the second one here. And looks like no issues or conflicts with the front forks, so that looks good. Likewise over here, looks like it's in good shape. I also like the fact that they're tucked in there. The other option would be, of course, to mount them on the crash bars, but I really don't like that position. It really tucks it in too much, and I think this is going to be better, especially from a visibility standpoint of thinking about driving behind traffic and them being able to see me. So I think that's pretty good. I like that. I think that under peak mount is going to be the best way, and it also, I think that under peak mount is going to be the best thing and really keep those tucked in out of the way. So happy with that. So next thing is to tighten these up a little bit, and we've got the Y cable and then 2 extension cables. Definitely a little toolkit. And here we have these clamp mounts and these little L brackets and hex nut cap. So this is the assembly that we need off both of these. I'm just looking at this, it goes in the back hole. So without loosening these. I thought it was going to be a little more in your face, but it actually looks fairly subdued. It looks OEM, actually. Good news. Okay, let's go for the second one now. Try to keep the tools organized as we go here. And yeah, the next thing, most people mount the Lone Rider MotoCAN right in this area here with some tape. This is actually the connection that we need to go for. But we'll need to route the wiring up here to the battery, and then also the wiring that will go up to the front lights themselves. So yeah, so I think that's the next task, is to get that seat bracket off. Now, if we're lucky, the whole seat bracket is going to lift off. Here, ready, 1, 2, 3. Yes, that's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for. Now, whole reason for doing this: clear access to this entire area back in here. We will also, with the tail light, we'll need to be able to come up here. We may need to cut a little access hole into it. Let's just take a look at that. Let's just take a look at that light. Actually, that is going to work perfect on there. And while we're at it, we're just going to go ahead and install that little guy.
Another quick interruption from the editing studio. On my first attempt to install the Denali B6 taillight, I realized that the provided license plate bolts were too short. So I had to go to the local auto parts store and buy a little kit. You'll see that a little bit later when I actually do install the Denali B6. At this point, the next step was to take the Lone Rider MotoCAN, lay it out in the seat tray, make the electrical connection and connect the lights, and then do the initial programming and check the whole system out before I do all the wiring install. That's what we'll do next. With the MotoCAN connected to the battery and the white channel connected to the lights, it was time to connect the computer to the MotoCAN and do the initial registration and programming. For this step, you'll need the VIN of your motorcycle to plug into the system and register.
Okay, making progress here. I had to connect my computer to my Wi-Fi network so it could verify everything, and I had a VPN on, so I had to turn my VPN off. And after I did that, it was able to connect with the software. I had to register with the VIN, so make sure you have your VIN number handy when you go through the registration process. There was also a firmware update available, and in order to do the firmware, you have to turn the ignition off. So I did all that, and now the firmware update is completed.
With everything connected, the MotoCAN software did a scan and located the lights. With that, it moved directly into the programming screen where you can configure all of the light functions. Next, I plugged in the Denali B6 brake light using the adapter cable from a bike thing. The software recognized the brake light immediately, and I was able to program it. I ended up using the California legal flashing, which flashes 4 times and then goes solid upon braking. I really like that effect.
Well, I'm finally at a stopping point for today. I think that's as far as I'm going to get. I want to give you just a little walk around of where I'm at. I've got everything basically just placed in here. The MotoCAN is in place. I'm not using the red or the blue circuit. And I've got the yellow circuit used for the brake light. You can see that down there on the ground. And everything is basically just laid in. So I've got to route all of these cables. And then if I come around to the front of the bike, you can see the daytime running lights are active, laid in, and we'll get that all tidied up and the wires routed tomorrow. And then the other big thing, of course, is to get the headlights aimed. What I'm going to do, I'm going to crank the bike up real quick here and let you see what those look like. For daytime running lights, I have opted to go with the low beams on. And I'm noticing a little bit of pulsation. I may need to change that. I don't know if that's just due to a low percentage. But then when I go to high beam, I get the full effect of all the lights, so that looks really good. And then when the high beam's off, and then flash to pass, I'm going to give it 3 clicks. Really like that. I think that's going to do really well. I like that flash to pass, and that's really going to give a good warning and good visibility. So really happy with all of that. And basically all the configuration is working. Okay, so day 1 complete. Actually, it wasn't a full day yesterday. I only worked probably 3 hours, I would say. Getting to this point, got everything basically laid out and connected, and doing a test run. Apologies for my voice. I've picked up a little bit of a cough and a sore throat, so I'm working through that. So sorry about the voice, but I wanted to give you just an overview of kind of where I'm at right now. Coming back here this afternoon to try to tidy things up, and let's see how far we can get. But running 2 cameras today. I've got a camera on a tripod, and then I've got a chest mount camera. Of course, I did get the lights installed yesterday. You can see actually the daylight running lights are on right now, and those are all working fine. You see on the ground I've got the brake light. It's actually not installed yet because the bolts that were supplied by Denali were too short for my license plate bracket, so I had to make a run this morning to pick up a few parts and a few other things. But I wanted to really start here and really just give you an overview of my software settings and let you know how that's going. So daytime running lights, those are 100% day and night. Flash amber with turn signal, and also inverse flashing with hazards. So those are all fine. I'll give you a view of that. Let me just activate my right turn signal here. And if you can see that, I'll try to put a little shade there, and basically you see them activating in basically in opposite. So, or you see them activating at the same time, and then also very nice in hazard mode. If you can see that, they're going back and forth. And apologies, sometimes with these LEDs, they don't come through on the camera quite exactly the way they should. The other thing to show you is my brake lights.
If you look at my brake light right now, I think I've got it set for normal condition running. I've got it set at 10%. I've also got it set on the California flashing, so we'll try to take a look at that and see if I can reach up. I'm going to unmount the camera for just a sec here. Just so you can see it, we'll take a look at that. Sitting down there, and when I pull the brake, I get 4 strobes and then solid red. So really like that. Again, just looking at these, I've got the wide beams set day intensity at 10%. Night intensity is currently at 0. However, full beam, so with the actually, I'm going to take those up to 50 as well. I'm sorry, I'm going to take those up to take those up to 10 as well, 10 and 10, and then full beam. So narrow, 100 and 100, so those are full on. Strobe on horn, strobe on flash to pass, which is a really cool feature, and then enable modulation. Yeah, really no changes. Only on when engine running. And then down to my brake lights, running at 10%, brake light 100, and California night flashing. So those are all of my settings. So those are pretty good. Happy with that, so I'm going to put the computer away and get on with the installation. Let's go.
The next step was to tidy up all of the wiring. In order to do that, you have to remove the plastic body panel that's on top of the tank. There are 5 screws that you need to remove to take that piece off. I then started the wiring from the lights and brought them up behind the forks and concealed them within some of the plastic trim pieces. I made sure that there was no conflict from my forks going from lock to lock. After that, I brought the wiring up along the top of the tank and brought everything together just forward of the filler cap. I zip tied all of the cabling together and also used one piece of duct tape coming down the tank from the filler down to the seat. Of course, I used plenty of zip ties as needed to keep all of the wiring tidy. One of the issues is there is a tremendous amount of excess wiring. In hindsight, I wonder if I could have gotten away without using the 1 meter extensions on both the left and the right side. That would have reduced the amount of wiring. All of this wiring had to be tucked in, basically in front of the filler cap.
Get a clean edge.
With the wiring under the tank cover completed, the next step was to move to the seat tray and make sure that all the wiring was tucked away neatly, using zip ties where appropriate. I also used the seat bracket several times to test fit to make sure that the MotoCAN was still accessible. So that's pretty much all the way back here. Then I have decided to use the yellow circuit for my Denali B6 light, and that leaves me 2 open circuits, and I do have the caps on those, basically the weatherproof caps on those to keep them nice and sturdy, to keep them waterproof. I've installed a number of little zip ties to try to organize the wiring, and then the main thing that I want to be cognizant of, but is that I've got full access into the Lone Rider MotoCAN right here. Once I take the seat off, be able to get to it if I need to do any reprogramming. So yeah, so that's pretty much good to go. I'm pretty happy with that. Next thing we're going, so the next thing that we're going to do is work on this Denali B6 taillight. I've got it right here in my hand. Plus I've got the little extension wire
that comes from the company, a bike thing. So I think that's in pretty good shape. And what that does is that connects into the Denali connector, and it gives me a Lone Rider 3-pin, which is actually a 2-pin. There is no third pin in it, but it's the 3-pin configuration. So that's good. So I'm going to be taking a look in this spot here. I'm going to have to approach it from up underneath, do a little bit of disassembly under there, open that up, and then find a way to run this cable in. So let's get to it. Okay, so basically this bottom bracket here drops down. I've taken my license plate off, and there are 2 drain holes, one there and one there, that I think would be a good spot to run that Denali B6 wire. I think I'm going to go with this one over on the right-hand side. And then once it's in the up position, I'm going to need to drill a corresponding hole, probably right here or here, so that I can bring the wiring up into the compartment under the seat. So let's do that. Okay, so we are going to go for drilling this one out right here. Tighten the clutch up a little bit on this. All right, let's just see if this connector will snake through that. Yes. Yes, it will. Fantastic. All right. So now what we need is another hole up on the top side. And I don't guess this really makes a difference. Try to round that out just a little bit. Not quite so tight a fit. And okay, that's a little too tight. Gonna need to round that out a little more. Almost. There we go. There we go. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned this when I was working on this yesterday, but I found out that one of these screws that basically goes through here up into the frame was missing. It evidently had vibrated out at some point, and so I went by my friendly local BMW dealer this morning, and unfortunately they did not have that part in stock, so they had to order it. So I expect I'll have that here in couple of days. They indicated it was being shipped out of the BMW parts warehouse in Stockton, California. BMW is usually pretty fast about ordering and fulfilling. And believe it or not, back in the day, that's one of the warehouses I was involved with. Okay, next thing we got to do here is attach the license plate and the Denali brake light. And the screws that were supplied by Denali were simply just not long enough to be able to go all the way through. So I went by my local auto parts store this morning and picked up a nice little kit that has lots of different lengths and nuts and that type of thing. It even includes a little Torx wrench, some little caps. So that looks pretty nice, and I wanted, definitely wanted to put black nuts on there if I could. And the other thing, if possible, I wanted to try to resurrect my my license plate holder here. So the first trick to see is if these are going to be long enough. So we'll assemble it like that. We'll come through like that. And okay, here is a view of the completed project. I'm just missing one thing. I'm missing a screw that goes up under here. I'm missing a screw that goes up under here that must have vibrated out at some point in time. Here's a look at this cabling. I drilled that hole, also drilled one in the bottom there. That little kit that I got at AutoZone really worked out well. I was able to reuse my Touring Sport plate. Touring Sport, by the way, is in Greenville, South Carolina. As far as I know, they're out of business now, but it's actually where I bought this bike, brand new, back many years ago. So let me see, just try to coil this up a little bit, run a zip tie through it, catch into that wiring loom right there. And let's see, let's snip off the excess end. And I think we are pretty much good to go. We've got the seat bracket left. And I mentioned to you that I had stripped off one of the heads to the seat bracket. One of the bolts, one of the 8 bolts that holds the seat bracket and the top case. So I'm going to have that replaced, and I've ordered that along with the screw that's missing over here. So I should have that in a couple of days. So now that it's together, I want to do one more function check. We'll turn things on. And looks like brake light is working. And let's hit the brake here, see what happens. 4 pulses in a solid. That's exactly the way we've got it programmed. Let's just do a double check on the front here. Of course, we've got our daytime running lights. Those are all working. Go to high beam. It is set that it does not work.
And the final step was the seat bracket reinstallation. These are the 8 T40 bolts. Actually, I'm only installing 7 of them because one of them had to be replaced because the head was rounded off. So install those very quickly.
So I wanted to take a quick walk around the bike and just give you a look at the final product with all of the work that I did. I didn't really have a good, clean video of the back of the bike, so I wanted to show that to you. And anyway, this is basically what it looks like. This is the Denali B6. And I mentioned at one point, but I had replaced my turn signals front and back with the Wiser Technic LEDs, and I really like those. Those are really great. And what I'd like to do, I'm gonna turn the ignition on here, just a second, and let you get a look at that. You can see it. It appears on the video that the lights are flashing, but actually that's just a frame rate issue. And let me turn my left turn signal on so you can see that. And that Wiser Technic really has a bright view on it. And then, as I've shown before, as you press the brake, you get 4 pulses and then solid red. So that works out pretty good. Let me see if I can reach my foot up around to the rear brake. And that's what that looks like. So let me make sure it's in neutral here. And we'll start up. Again, there's the front brakes. You can see the daytime running lights are flashing in concert with the turn signal, and I've also got the wide beams on the bottom on in daytime running light to try to provide a little bit of extra visibility. And then I also showed the flash to pass previously. Let me cancel turn signal, then flash to pass, get the strobe effect. And just one last thing, let me just, I'll shut off the bike here. Let me just go for the emergency flashers just to show you what those look like on the back of the bike. So really happy with that, really bright, high visibility. Likewise on the front with the Wiser Technic, and you see the daytime running lights flashing opposite the turn signal flashers. So that's it. I just wanted to give you a clean look at the final product, the final installation on the bike. Really happy with things, and yeah, just wanted to make sure to include this in the edit. Well, the job's pretty much done, and I would say at the end of the day about what I expected. A couple of little things maybe that turned up that I wasn't prepared for, but overall not too bad. sequence I went in maybe was a little different, so I started with the under nose mount first. That looked to be pretty straightforward, and actually if you just pull the front pieces back a little bit, you can drop the bolts in, and you don't have to take the peak off the bike at all. You can just drop them in and then pull the bracket up from the bottom. And so I did the bracket first, then I mounted the lights, and then I moved on to the MotoCAN, and I did basically a test fit of everything, a test run of everything. I did the configuration on the MotoCAN, did the scan, it recognized the lights right away. I got them set up the way I think I want to run. I certainly may adjust that in the future as we go forward, but all the functions are working. The daytime running lights, I did add the low beam on the MotoLights during daylight operations, just to provide a little bit extra visibility. I think the daytime running lights are a little weak, but I think with the addition of the 4 per side of the low beam, I think that's going to be nice. And of course on high beam, this thing is a monster. It really lights up the sky. So that all works, all the configuration, got that done. And then when I plugged in the Denali B6 rear light, it recognized it immediately, and I just put it on one of the channels. I think I put it on the blue channel, and recognized it immediately. I configured it in the MotoCAN. I've got it set up that I want to say 10 or 20% normal operation, and then when I brake, it has 4 pulses and then solid red. So that's all. That was all configured yesterday, and that was pretty much it. That's all I did yesterday. Only worked just a couple of hours, and then got a late start, and then likewise today got a late start, so I didn't really begin till probably 2 o'clock here, and it is now 5:30, and I am pretty much done. I've got everything buttoned back up. As mentioned, I did run into 2 little problems. I found one bolt that was missing. It must have vibrated loose. That was on the rear portion of it, and then also one of the T40 bolts on the rear luggage rack. It was so difficult to get out, I actually rounded the head of the nut and had to order a new one, so those are on the way. Should have those in a couple of days. Had to do a couple little modifications to get the Denali B6 light in the back, but basically 2 little holes to run the connector through. Got that up, got everything zip tied in, and we're pretty much ready to go. So I've got some cleanup to do tomorrow. I've got a bunch of little bits of cable ties and everything. But you know, as you get older, and for me as an older biker, you know, visibility of the bike is extremely important. And the more a chance people will see you, the more the chance that they will have the ability to react and stay out of your way. And especially these days of distracted drivers and everything else, you need all the help you can get. So certainly this gives me, both on the front of the bike and the rear of the bike, a little bit of a leg up over the competition. And the other modification that I made previously was I added the Wiser Technic LED turn signals. That was a really quick, easy retrofit for the bike, and I think really adds to the overall safety of the bike and visibility. So I think we're in good shape there. So that's about all for tonight. I'll be putting together just some final thoughts probably in the studio as I'm wrapping up my footage, and we'll give you some more thoughts and impressions. I'd love any of your comments of what you've seen, if you would do something different or how you would approach it. But I would say I'm average above average mechanical ability, and I was able to get through things. I do want to put a special shout out to my Cruise tools. I did buy, I think I bought that in Amazon a couple of years ago, but a tool roll that has quite a number of tools specifically for the BMW, all in metric, and plenty of those torque spits that you're going to need if you're doing any wrench time on the bike. So those really came in handy. So that's about it for tonight, and we're going to wrap it up, and I'll just have a short session in the studio just to wrap this up when I'm doing my final edit. I've got one other big thing left to do, and that's aiming the lights, and we're going to save that for another episode. I've got some good general ideas of how to do that, but I would like to